Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome to the Grants Committee Season 4 Highlights, Impact, and What's Next. My name is Melissa. I'm the marketing manager at the Moonbeam Foundation. So I'm going to throw it over to Seco to introduce the committee as well as Tiago. We have the DeFi guy here. We have Lou. So welcome, guys. Take it away.
Yeah, I think Jago's going to kick us off here. I think Jago, do you want to do the intro? Assuming Jago can hear us. Okay, if not, I'll do the introduction here. That's okay. So, yeah, so hey, thanks everybody for joining. I think we wanted to have this Twitter space. As you guys are aware, we have a grants committee, that is elected from the community that kind of manages and oversees grant applications that Moonbeam gets. I think we've had this process in place for I think a little over a year at this point. But I think we've never had kind of an opportunity for the grants committee to speak to the community and maybe just share a little bit about how the process works and just kind of their perspective and type of applications that they're seeing. I think we'll get into that. I think our overall goal with this is just to try and create a little bit more transparency, to have better communication with members in the community and token holders as a whole. I think we are going to try and make this a more regular thing. So we're going to be launching a new grant committee season in a little over a month, and I think as part of that, we're going to make some changes to make sure that this type of outreach and communication becomes a more regular thing. I mean, in general, in terms of the grants program itself, what the reason we have the grants program and the way it was created is very much intended to kind of help teams that already building on Moonbeam or they're interested in building on Moonbeam and then have some traction to try and get them to the next level, right? So overall, we want the Moonbeam network to really get broad adoption, to get users to be providing useful services to end users and a big part of that is attracting builders and developers to the ecosystem, but often they need a bit of help in order to get to the next stage. A lot of times we see teams that have a really great technical idea, but they need some additional funding, right? Or they need more money in order to to pay a salary or to help with marketing or to help them kind of get to the next stage. And that's very much what this grant program is intended for. We also very much wanted to be community driven. So the committee right now is composed of 9 people. 3 of those are from the foundation. 6 of those are from elected from the community. And I can tell I mean, I'm one of the foundation members that sits on the committee. I can tell you that the foundation very much kind of takes a backseat in this, right? We're there to kind of manage the process and oversee it. But it is very much like the elected members that kind of get the applications, that review them, that interview the team, that ask questions. The foundation members are more there to for example, once the committee approves the grant, to sign the agreement, to handle things like KYC and KYB. So we're more there for the paperwork. It is very much the elected members that are kind of in the driver's seat. I mean, just generally, in terms of the type of grants and programs that we're kind of supporting, it is very much intended as like I said, as this kind of booster, right, to help teams get to the next level. It's not intended as a permanent source of funding. So there are times where we have given a team a second grant, but typically those are come with a much higher level of scrutiny and a higher bar. I mean, it's not the intent of the grant budget to become a permanent source of funding, right? That's more what Treasury is for. And just in general, a little bit as to how the process works. We have on the website, on the Moonbeam Foundation website, or Moonbeam Network website, sorry, there is a grant application form. That's where we kind of direct people. That form will ask them a whole bunch of questions about the project, the LinkedIn profiles, or the background story of the people building it, why they're trying to build on Moonbeam, what the nature of the integration is, what they think they can bring, really, provides as much inside information into the project as we can, as the team can provide. We then share, like once the team fills in that form, we capture the output of that, we share it with the committee, and the committee then we schedule a call, right? And the committee will do kind of like background research into the project prior to the call. So they'll like go look at, well, obviously the information that they shared. If there's a pitch deck, they'll review that. They'll go look at their website. They'll look at their white paper. They'll look at like, their socials, their Discord, and kind of come up with like a series of questions. We then organize a call with the team where, they typically spend about 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes presenting that idea and pitching it. And then it becomes kind of like little, I always call it a little bit like Spanish Inquisition, right? It's like, they go through the firing line where, very much if you've ever seen Shark Tank, it's kind of that type of setup where, different members of the committee will ask them different questions about either the project or the Moonbeam integration or the financial runway, that kind of thing. And then once the call is completed, typically that process takes about an hour. Then once the call is completed, the committee will go away and deliberate this. We have kind of shared communication channels to do that. And then every Friday, the committee gets together for 90 minutes and discusses all of the pending applications. And out of that review process, there's really one of three steps that come out of that. Either the application is rejected because it just doesn't make sense, or the value proposition is not clear, or maybe it's a great idea, but we feel the team's not quite ready yet for the next step. Or it could be that there's additional questions that the call wasn't enough. If that happens, usually those are handled asynchronous. We usually don't set up a second call, or the grant gets approved. And then if the grant is approved, then there's a whole negotiation process over the amount and over milestones. We very much at this point, the practice that we've had for well over a year is we always insist on like kind of traction milestones. So it's not just a financial grant in order to go build a DApp or a bunch of smart contracts. Like, I mean, we may pay for a portion of that, but usually a significant portion of the grant is like, show us that you have X amount of users or X amount of transaction or X amount of TVL, that kind of thing. And then once all that's negotiated, then there's a whole bunch of paperwork which the foundation takes care of. So there's a legal agreement that gets signed up. We do have to go through a KYC process, just to be in compliance with, anti-money laundering legislation and this kind of thing. And then, then at that point the grant's approved, and then we're kind of, waiting to see what the team does, and obviously they let us know when they've kind of completed different stages of the milestones. That's at a very high level, kind of the process. Maybe I'll turn it over to Thiago and some of the other committee members here to do a round of introductions of who else is on the committee, and kind of lead the discussion around the different types of applications that they see.
Thank you, Siko, and apologies for my mic there, because when entering through the laptop, there's already some bug with Axe here. So lesson learned. I'm using my mobile here. Just second that, everything that Siko said, especially how happy and satisfied I am with the committee and how much we accomplished throughout this time. There was amazing accomplishments, several grantees, several teams building on top of Moonbeam. And I think one thing that definitely helps to highlight this is if we see the electrical capital report, we can see the number of devs increasing to Moonbeam. I think this is a good indicator, of like more projects and how supportive, like the Moonbeam network is towards, new builders as well. But with regards to some numbers and just some data with regards to the grant recipients that we had for this season, we approved 12 grants so far. The approval rate always vary between 8 and 12%. We're always in this range between 8 and 12, 13%. And this was pretty steady throughout all the seasons of the committees. Sometimes we were about 13%, sometimes we were 8%, but it gives a good indication, right? And like Siko said, there's a lot of process into getting to a yes. And most of the times, even the grant amount requested or the request, the requirements, sometimes they suffer changes throughout the grant process, the approval process. But overall, like from this season specifically, we have seen a variety of projects in different categories. And it's so interesting to see like how the projects change over time, how we're now starting to see a lot of RWA. We have the bin, we have games, and I think this change is not only the industry changing a little bit, but also Moonbeam, right? Ensure a little bit of our focus and how we're putting some efforts towards like some of those grantees. So it's really happy to see those things. I will pass the message to Lou to talk about gaming a little bit more. Lou, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
You can,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Maybe you
Cool.
can
Yeah.
share some thoughts on some grantees that we approved, on some of your experience so far, and
Yeah,
just highlight.
100%. Yeah, so as I guess a builder on Moonbeam myself, and also being part of the game community on Moonbeam, I'm super excited that the whole committee is kind of on the same wavelength there. That gaming is something important, especially in Web3. A lot of aspects of Web3 lend themselves really nicely for gaming use cases. So always exciting to see new projects applying, and also the whole committee discussing about how does the game look, how does it feel, like getting all the inputs from people that may have played more games in their childhood than the others. I mean, some notable grantees definitely are Voyage on the one hand. It's like a little bit of like a world builder where you can put all your NFTs in your own home base. You can visit other people. Polybots just went live as well. They're part of the Luna Gaming Festival as well, where you have some mechs, and then you can battle them against each other. And I mean, initiatives like the Lunar Gaming Festival are always high on the priority list as well. Just trying to drive up engagement over the whole ecosystem as a whole, because it's always really sad if you have a bunch of games that live in their own bubbles. But if we can manage to somehow bind them together, that's super exciting. Yeah, and the grant committee is always trying to achieve exactly that as well.
That's pretty cool, Lou. Thank you so much. It's great to see this perspective and see a little bit of our games. Yes, like when we talk about games, we talk mainly about building communities, right? This is the thing that I see the most, like from all those games, they're bringing their own communities, and we're bringing, like we're growing our own community with getting more exposure to games. So that's pretty cool to hear. Thank you, Lou. Maybe Andrew, maybe we can give some thoughts on other projects that you would like to highlight.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So obviously this is our first time doing a public kind of grant committee kind of spaces. I also agree with Zico that this should be a more common thing and really enjoy this. But yeah, I guess one thing we have seen massively just in the world in the last 6 months since the kind of committee, the season of the committee started was AI took over. So one of the kind of most promising projects that we saw was Blink AI, which was a really cool project that basically enables people to launch their own smart contracts and own applications um, on Moonbeam, but using basically AI tooling and LLMs to basically guide them through that process and make it a much simpler, almost no code solution. From me, from someone who learned to code, playing around on Moonbeam, that was something that really excited me. I'm also a big user and lover of AI in general, so I thought that was really a really interesting one, and I'm really looking forward to playing around with it myself and using. I guess that was one thing I thought was very interesting about the committee is the kind of scope of applications we got was very wide. Everything from people selling beers to LLMs to people doing hospital management software, all sorts of everything under the sun you could imagine. So I can't stress how wide it is, and I think that's good for anyone who's listening. If you have a maybe niche or obscure kind of project that you think would find a home on Moonbeam, feel free to reply. We're still looking for more applicants, and we're hoping to give out more grants in the future. To quickly speak on another one that I found was interesting, we had Orium, which was NFT rentals. So obviously, a lot of games and a lot of communities, you need to own NFTs. to enter the community or to kind of partake in the ecosystem. So this was a project that we fast tracked that basically enables people to rent NFTs, to use them in whatever app or whatever game they want, and then pay a fee and return the NFT, or even move forward and buy the NFT afterwards. Obviously that ties in really well with kind of Lou's kind of idea on gaming and how NFTs integrate with that. Really cool. I guess just while I have the mic, there was kind of one other thing I definitely wanted to say for anyone who's listening to this in the future. Over the last 5 months, like, what did we really see work? Projects that had MVPs, like had something to show us, like could click buttons or show a demo or fire off a few transactions, those people were much more likely to get positive vibes in return. So that's great advice for if you're doing a grant or you're applying for anything. Anytime we did the Friday meetings and someone had an MVP, there was always kind of laughs and jokes like, oh, this guy or girl is kind of high up in the list because they've shown us something tangible. Obviously, a second point that was very clear, we really were looking for things that either did a lot of transactions on Moonbeam or kind of brought us a lot of users. So, if you have something that can either enable one of those two, again, that's exactly what we're looking for. And I think Siko mentioned it at the start. This was, while I like the analogy of Shark Tank because it was a little bit like that at times. It was a little bit in the hot seat, but we were open for negotiation with a lot of projects. If you needed more money because you needed extra engineers to do this, or like we met a lot of people in the middle. It wasn't really a deal or no deal. We did Shark Tank you a little bit, but we were open for negotiation, which I think is good. We need to have a kind of friendly, welcoming atmosphere when people kind of arrive. I don't want it to be, life or death on one phone call. I'm aware there's a lot of other people to speak, so I don't want to talk for too long. I could go on and on about all the projects we saw. But yeah, I guess I'll pass it over to who's next. Martin, are you next, sir?
Raphael. I think Raphael is next.
Oh, Raphael's
Talk about
next.
these. Yeah. I know. It's not working, man. I can just one thing before we continue, and maybe Raphael, we try to fix this, and put you on last to talk about some of the projects. But just one thing about what Andrew said about tangibility, how important this is. Seriously, like if you have to give like one tip to every team, like make it tangible, make it something that we can actually understand the project without the bells and whistles, right? Like after the dreams and everything, like what's left, and you got to be able to see like the tangible product, something that you can show that really will resonate. And sometimes like a video, a demo speaks more than 1,000 slides. Maybe I just adapted that, but that's somewhat true. Jim, maybe we can go next, and then we go back to Raphael afterwards. But we'd love to hear from your thoughts as well. Jim?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, okay.
Loud
Sorry.
and clear.
So I just moved to another device. So
Oh, that's
if you
Raphael.
want me to talk about the project, like that's like Launchpad, so I would be happy to do so.
Yeah. So let's Jim. We'll get back to you in a second, Raphael. Yeah, please
So
go ahead.
I just jump inside because I didn't hear before. I just switched devices. So whatever you like I'm here.
No, go ahead, man.
Okay, so just want to talk about the Launchpad, like that's we granted as well. So first we are going to have a project called Pools that is going to be the first one to be the first Launchpad, let's say, to be integrated with Moonbeam. And now you hear me better?
Yep, still hearing you. All good.
Okay, good. So so the one that would be integrated, the first one with Moonbeam, and hopefully more would follow. Personally, I think that those like Launchpad, they had a very huge advantage in any ecosystem because they bring a lot of awareness and many user base that can support the ecosystem. And also they support the current applications like in the ecosystem, because it's not just using them for doing the launchpad, but also all the open add more liquidity and transaction with the exchanges. When you do the IDOs in the exchanges, in the DEXs, for example, in the given ecosystem. So I really hope that eventually the one that we granted will deliver, and believe they will, and more will follow, and will increase the users, the accounts, the transactions, and the volume of Moonbeam. So that's from my side.
That's pretty cool. Pretty exciting to see both projects. I think these are some new approaches that I believe was missing in our ecosystem, plus adding a lot of value and a new perspective. So it's putting me not only on things that were missing in our system, but actually helping us driving some changes and new projects and some innovative aspects as well. That's pretty cool. Jim, do we have you? Yeah, maybe it's a good idea, Jim, to leave the call and come back. I wasn't able to hear you. Yeah, let's do that then. If you can just leave Jim and come back, we were gonna put you as speaker and I'm gonna put you in the next turn. Yeah, I can talk about one DeFi project specifically called BRLA. I think BRLA is a Brazilian stablecoin that is getting a lot of traction. It's one of the stablecoins with more tractions in Brazil, and brings a lot of Brazilians to the Web3 space. Since I joined the committee, we talked about several tokenization companies. And there's always this battle of how you actually onboard users to Web3. There are several projects that onboard in different ways, and sometimes they abstract the whole Web3 complexity, right? By just putting some clicks away, custodial wallets, even non-custodial wallets, but you don't actually feel, right, that you're entering in this ecosystem, the Moonbeam ecosystem. One thing that I'm very proud with this PRLA grant is the possibility of not only inserting them or having BRLA enabled to Moonbeam, where people can actually buy Glimmer and US and any ERC20 tokens through Brazilian payment methods, but it's also this first pool that probably will be like one of the most incentivized pool in the whole Web3 space between Brazilian reais and US dollars. So we're going to have USDC BRLA pool, which is already live at StellaSwap, with some extra incentives as well from the Moonbeam side, from the Stella side as well. And that's pretty exciting to see, because that will not only help the Brazilians to get to the Web3 a little bit deeper, but also to help the world to see some exposure to some Brazilian project and even participate, who knows, in the liquidity providing for this pool specifically. That's pretty cool to see things starting to get a shape in a more geographical location. Mary, maybe you can go next. Oh, do you have Jim here? I still cannot hear you, Jim. Yep, it's not working for me. Just make sure everybody is on the same page? I don't know. Can someone hear Jim?
I can't, but I think we have Marin now. So if you want to get him to speak.
Yeah. All right. So Marin, would love to hear your thoughts as well. I cannot hear you either, believe it or not. What's happening? Somebody's trying to...
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
To send a request to Elon Musk, having him to help us out here.
Tiago, I don't know if it's the reason, but I just switched from my laptop to my mobile, and it worked. So maybe.
I generally recommend people join on their cell phone, because my experience with the desktop has not been great. So
yeah. Mary is reconnecting. Let's wait a couple
more
minutes.
I guess
talk about
This is decentralization at work, guys. This is how it goes sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, all good, all good. We're gonna talk about some interesting projects with Jim as well. Hopefully, he will be able to join. Otherwise, I can cover for him. But we have a few very interesting projects. Jim will cover in Marion as well. Of course, we have both Airlift and Bing that I would love to hear his thoughts on it. So let's do we have them back? Not yet, I believe. Getting there. When the spaces started, I was playing some bossa nova background music. It was pretty,
Microphone check 1 2.
Yeah, working.
Hey, sorry guys. Yeah, I was using the Windows app and I rejoined, turned on the regular microphone. But anyway, should I just jump into RWA and Deepin?
Absolutely.
Great, thanks, Thiago. And once again, apologies to the listeners for the technical difficulties. But my section is RWA and Deepin. And I guess first, this first team that I'm going to discuss is really classified, I would say, as DeSci or decentralized science. And maybe there's a case to be made that DeSci is a subset of RWA. But in any event, this season, a grant was awarded to Tamarin Health. And the headline with Tamarin is that they help any health company securely and privately collaborate without needing to send their raw data to any other company or data aggregator. And so in part of doing that, they're building Nectar. And so Nectar is a HIPAA compliant decentralized database. So for, I guess, non-US persons or those that don't know, HIPAA is basically the law in the US that protects personal health information. And it holds healthcare providers responsible and accountable for keeping that information private and secure. So the grant, in part, is going to have Tamarin integrating the Nectar solution with Moonbeam, deploying smart contracts, other components to that. And they're really the first team bringing DeSci to Moonbeam and the wider Polkadot ecosystem. So that's really cool. The next team, and you may have already heard of this one, and that's because they received a grant in a previous season to launch their Zero Trust Network Access or ZTNA solution is Diode. And so, Seiko mentioned earlier that, grants shouldn't be considered kind of like, okay, come back every season and ask for another. But in these rare exceptions where there's a team that's really driving innovation, doing some new and exciting things, and we're very successful, and there's an opportunity to help them accelerate their growth. Well, I think the other committee members would agree that that's a good reason to consider and look at providing another grant. So along with Diode's token launched on top of Moonbeam in the past year, they've been busy integrating their identity and network perimeter anchoring solution with Moonbeam, as well as some other development work. And so there's a lot of technical jargon in there: ZTNA, network perimeter, SAS. I didn't mention SASE, but basically, to put it simply, if you think of a decentralized, privacy-preserving, secure form of Slack, that's basically Diode, plus, because they're doing so much more than just what Slack is doing in the decentralization and privacy preserving world. And they're using Moonbeam as one of those components to ensure those decentralization and privacy features. So that's really cool, and another like unique use case. I think these two teams are probably some of the best teams that I think we've had come across the grant committee, and they're incredibly professional. They're fast moving. So it really is great to see like Diode continue to build and come to us and look to help us accelerate their growth and watch Tamarin speed through their milestones. So I think we're going to see a lot more from them in the future. So Thiago, I think that's my first section.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you so much. This is very good insights. I second your position there with when it comes to tokenization, real world solutions or problems, DeSci, Deepin, those kind of things it's very sensitive because there's a lot of projects emerging, from these areas, but it's really hard to find the ones that really is bringing value, right? That is using blockchain the right way, or is using it in the way that it should, right? As it promised. So it's really exciting to see that. Marion, I think we have you here.
I hope so. You tell me.
Yes, we have you.
Thanks God. Okay, so sorry for the technical issues earlier. So I'd love to talk a bit more about gross grant recipient. And in that category, I like to talk about Airlift. If you're not familiar with it, it's a solution that help Web3 projects grow their community, basically by creating loyalty program in a gamified way. So it's super interesting for builders. You can create quests, and then your community gonna get reward in an automated way. The super interesting thing is that they allow quest on a Web 2 and Web 3 perspective, which means, for instance, you can connect Twitter, Discord, and at the same time verifying on-chain transaction. So that's a super cool solution that exists and is building on Moonbeam. And recently in the season 4, they received a grant to create a widget for projects. So why is that good? It's super good because previously we have to use their own website, which is not that bad. But with the widget that the Moonbeam Foundation give the grant for, now we can host our own Airlift platform on our own website, our own project, which allow deeper customization. So this type of grant, I love it because it's beneficial, of course, for Airlift. I think it's one of the biggest loyalty program in Web3, but also for all the other projects of the ecosystem that can then benefit from a super cool tool like this one. So really, really happy about the support that we gave to Airlift.
Thank you, Marion. And just for everybody that's here, if you have any interest in applying for grants, or if you're ready, I want to apply for a grant, feel free to highlight here, just for the spotlight, or just just tap the like button or whatever, and make sure to ping us, right? Like, I think each one of us is getting more and more exposed to the grants committee and the grants program, so we will definitely help you guys out within the process on how to apply, and and explain like how everything works in more details if you need to. So that's a good way, and love to see more teams coming up. Now we will go to the next part, and I would love to hear from Andrew a little bit more about the sum up, or just a summary of the season 4. If you can talk about this composition of the committee, the foundation members, non-foundation members, just give your some colors here on the structure.
Yeah, I guess that was probably one of the good things we had. I think one of the things we did well from the committee's perspective, or from the even from the community's perspective too, that we had a pretty different mix of people, not only in geographical regions, but also in kind of technical expertise. People from the kind of business perspective. We got Lou, who was always there to kind of grill the gaming people. I was able to do DeFi. I found we got a lot of Brazilian projects, which I found very interesting. I know we already talked about the BRLA stablecoin, but I think that was one of our major wins. It's really great to see something go through the committee and then, see it be listed in the real world, see it be listed actually out there. So, as was mentioned earlier, it's split up of 6 kind of elected members from the community who are elected by a snapshot vote with on-chain governance, and then there's 3 foundation members. I guess it's probably pretty important that we keep that mix, or a similar mix, just because there were a lot of times that maybe the elected people could give their expertise, but we really needed the foundation people to give their kind of past experience or kind of guidance on the legalese, or the next best steps for how to arrange the negotiation, or how to roll out the product. So I think we did a great mix, or we had a great setup. I guess the only one thing I would change, that I think we probably will do or we would suggest for the next committee, is more kind of public engagement. If that'll probably help increase the deal flow, the projects coming in, but also kind of keep the community aware of the ongoing ebbs and flows of the grant committee fund that we've had.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's a very good insights, and I'd love to hear from Lou as well, a little bit on how was it, how you feel, how was it feeling about the season 4? Because I know Lou was here for previous seasons as well, so it will be interesting to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, I was part of season 3 already, and you can definitely feel that projects are getting more refined. I feel like last season there were a bunch of wild shots almost, projects that just tried to go for it and see if somebody's up for sponsoring them, basically. I feel like nowadays projects do know that networks like Moonbeam care about quality, care about a proper team. It can't just be a vision. It can't just be your idea you had on a Sunday afternoon. You need to actually have something to show us. You need to actually convince us. So while the applications themselves have been getting fewer, I feel like the quality and the kind of commitment of the projects themselves has definitely grown. So what this also leads to is that we as a committee have more work to do on the individual project in terms of actually doing research on them. It's not just about kind of getting your input on an idea. It's actually seeing, okay, how many of the numbers they're presenting are actually true, because like we know, especially in crypto, a lot of projects like to inflate their numbers quite a bit. So doing the due diligence on the numbers, doing the due diligence on the people as well, and seeing if what they're presenting actually makes sense and is able to carry some fruits. So I feel like, yeah, especially in this season, you do get this trend of projects getting better and better, and I think that's really exciting and makes it also so much more exciting to do the due diligence on them, having the call with them, and knowing they're well prepared, they know what's coming for them. And some great opportunities.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Jim, I guess like you can compliment as well because you were in previous seasons. Probably you're the OG within the grants committee. I'd love to hear a little bit more about success, right? Like what we do as a committee, to make sure like we try our best to reach success here. And success is not approving grants, but making sure those grants, reach those milestones and deliver the changes that we as we foresee.
Yeah, thanks, Thiago. So even like this point of success and how do we measure it within the current season is a bit difficult to do if you want to look at purely quantitative and pure data and create objective measures, because the teams that are receiving grants this season, they are still for the most part in the process of deploying, right? So usually, like even I think Thiago, you posted in the past how this season prior did later in the next season, and so really to get objective data that we can measure the success of the grantees. It's a bit hard to do for the season, but that's not to say that there aren't some green shoots showing up. Lou mentioned Polybot's Rumble, and so he rightly stated there in Lunar Gaming Festival, and that's lunargamingfestival.com for those that aren't aware. Just sorry for the plug. But yeah, so Polybot's Rumble, they're integrated. They've got a special Moonbeam Festival game mode with a special background, and where gamers who play in that game mode can win some Moonbeam themed rewards. We mentioned BRLA in this call, so BRLA launched and they were a grant recipient for this season, and just looking at another just data point from the season, but also carries back to previous ones is Diode. So I think it was last year where we awarded a grant to them, and as I mentioned earlier, like they ran through their milestones, they really launched and have developed this maturing product. And so, we've awarded one to them again. And so while we can't like say, yes, they've been successful with this new grant, I don't think like anyone on the team has any doubt they will complete the milestones and accomplish what they want to do in the view of with their work with Moonbeam. So that's just kind of like the data points, but then there's the soft successes on the team, and we mentioned how we get quality applications, and Seco talked about the process a bit at the top of the call, and there's this mature selection process starting from BD to the panel call, and always some good and fair discussions for each team, and I think that has carried over in the past few years to this team. Like, in past seasons, when there were only 3 community committee members, and then the foundation members, we generally would be aligned in our thoughts on teams, and only in a few instances would there be a split in voting, for instance. And that patterns followed on this team as expanded to six community committee members. And that's not because like divergent and contrarian views and thoughts on applicants aren't allowed to be expressed. And we try to avoid groupthink, and we do have some discussions where the disagreements, generally, I think that alignment is how seriously we all take the work, and how focused we are in trying to make the right decisions for Moonbeam in the community, because we all love the community, and we realize that's what the community wants us to do. So I guess I think that carrying on to the season is also a way to express success. I know it's a bit soft, and it's not really objectively measured. Maybe we can think of some objective measures around that point for future seasons. But yeah, that's my points on success. Thanks, Thiago.
Perfect, Jim. And this is a very, like you mentioned, data points. You mentioned like this definition of success, and it's so difficult, right? It is so difficult because each team, and we are working in an industry that is changing every 6 months. There's a new thing happening. What is the definition of success for that project, and how that aligns with the overall goals of Moonbeam, and how can we put this into like a dashboard where we can say like, what is the success rate, right? So I guess like all those things makes the job really difficult, but also this challenge is really exciting that we are, in this frontier of innovation, of looking for new projects. I think Andrew mentioned about like the variety of projects, and I think this is one thing that comes to mind. So yeah, thank you so much for your thoughts here. Raphael, what about improvements? Like how can we bring more projects? How can we get more exposure for our grants program? What are your thoughts here?
First, can you hear me? Just to make sure I'm not talking to myself.
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think that you already mentioned and discussed about it. It's the biggest challenge is mainly to bring on board the best applications, the best builders, and eventually each network ecosystem wants to have the best products in their own ecosystem, and the way how we need to increase, let's say, our exposure and awareness. Like, we have a very good program, the grant program, and I think that the main problem that's maybe Andrew a bit touched it earlier, that's we are not public enough. People are not aware to the program, and we need to be more, let's say, make more public events and see that, and try to pull good projects, and not just waiting for project to come to us. That's the main part. Now, it's not easy. Like, it's easy to say, it's difficult to do how you bring those projects, because everybody fighting for those projects. But at least they need to know that we exist. That the grant committee exists, that Moonbeam exists, and that's why it's their own benefit and their own advantage to build on Moonbeam. And if they can be also granted, so it should be super helpful for them. And that's, I think, the main point. That's, we don't have the awareness that we need to do, and maybe like more. Again, I said it before. Like Andrew already mentioned it. So make some public events. We are, as also, like, we are very diversified people in the committee. So, and each one knows other people, and they are, like, for example, the business role, let's say, that we have. So we need to talk directly with projects to approach them and offer them to apply. and not just waiting for them to do so. And I'm sure that's also, it's already done, but we need to do it, all of us, and not just the specific people that were, let's say, in charge to do it in the Moonbeam, maybe Moonbeam Foundation or in the grant committee. Like everyone, anyone who see himself as part of the Moonbeam ecosystem, he needs to just spread the word, and try to pull those builders to Moonbeam, and explain them about the grant, explain them about the way that they can apply and how they can be granted. And that I think would be the biggest challenge for, let's say, for the next season. How we bring more projects, quality projects, and yeah, hopefully it will boost the Moonbeam ecosystem.
Thank you, Rafael. Yeah, absolutely. As you said, we have like an amazing grants program, and the more visibility we get, I think the more win-win situations we create, not only for us but also for those projects that wants to have some incentives. Not only financially, it's important to say that. We give support in several different ways. For marketing support, we introduce to communities, we introduce to VCs when it's needed. So we give a lot of support. We hold your hands throughout the process, and we make sure like they're part of the family. So this is one very cool thing about our grants program as well, which I'm very excited and very happy, and pleased, to be part of this. And surely, as more projects gets awareness about what we're doing here, I think, we're going to be able to attract like more and more good projects to us. Siko, would love to hear your thoughts, future plans, and just touch base what's next.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks, Tiago. And yeah, thanks to, Jim and Lou, Raphael, Andrew, Marin, for, sharing all this. It's really awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I think, I think you've heard like a little bit of a selection of the types of projects that, we're getting. And, I think as Andrew said it, like, it is like a pretty extensive range, right? Both in terms of like what teams are working on, also the maturity of teams. I mean, it's, I do a lot of these calls, and you go from on one call where like, it's a couple of people that, people that are like fairly new out of university, like young and eager, they have like a, really great startup idea. And then the next call, you're talking to like a super professional team that has like 40 people working from it, right? So the range is pretty bewildering. I think, just generally, I mean, I think, we're open for anything. I mean, I think, as long as it's a cool idea and, it's something that has promise and can get traction. And if the team is professional, I think, it's definitely something we want to kind of, it's something we want to listen to. That being said, I mean, there are a couple of areas where, we're very focused, right? So DeFi obviously has a base foundation layer, RWA, gaming, Deepin, AI, and, what I would kind of call like, well, developing markets, maybe not a good description for Brazil, but like certainly like, these, markets where like people are just like more predisposed to crypto, right? Which is definitely the case for like Brazil and Latin America, but also Southeast Asia. So I think those are projects where like we feel like there's a lot of growth opportunities, and so definitely that's been a focus for the last grant season. I think that will be a focus for the next one. The as probably people are aware, we elect people from the community for a 6-month term. The term of this committee is coming to an end at the end of September. So, we are working on kind of preparing the new election. You'll see a post go up about that next week. I think there'll be a couple of changes to structure. Mainly, I think, we're trying to kind of improve a little bit. I think a big focus is precisely like you're kind of increasing transparency to the community and getting more insight there. So one role that we're thinking of adding is kind of like a community liaisons person whose job it will be to do this type of thing on a more regular basis, right? So either a Twitter space or a forum post. But I think, we're excited for it to continue. The last thing I will say is, one thing about that's very specific about Web3, right, is that it is very much based on relationships. I think if you think about how a BD or sales process works in a more Web2 or traditional enterprise, a lot of it is done through cold calling and like emails. And I think, the one thing that is very, very different about Web3 is so much of it is about relationships. It's about who you know. A lot of things also happen at trade shows. And, we're starting to have the saying at the foundation inside where, obviously we have a BD team that's working on bringing deals to Moonbeam, but, we have this saying where we're like, everybody's job is BD. And so I would also ask that, maybe kind of also put that out to the community, right? So please, if you know a team that is building, that has something compelling, and it's a strong team, and you believe they can deliver something of value, please direct them to, please put them in touch with us, direct them to our grants form. We look at all of them, in a pretty sizable amount of those make it to the committee. And, we're obviously doing all, as much work as we can, but I think, as Raphael said, is, everybody has kind of different connection in this space, and the wider of a net we can cast, the more promising applications we can bring. So, I would say if there's one call to action for the community, it's maybe that, help us help you, basically. So yeah. But yeah, I think those are my final thoughts, Jago. Thank you so much for organizing this, and thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you, Zico. Thank you, everyone from the committee, for all the hard work in the last 6 months or so, and thank you all for joining and tuning in today. If you have any questions, feel free to say it now, or just bring us, in private, and we can answer any questions with regards to the grants program or some of the grantees. If you want to learn more about it, make sure to connect us or just follow, Moonbeam to hear more about it, because we're always, posting some things about our projects. So again, thank you all for joining today. It was really exciting, and see you guys next time.